Yo, what's up, guys? We're back for week 5 of Dana White Contender Series, and we got a lot better card than last week's, in my opinion. I like some of these matchups on this card, and currently I don't have any bets on any of the money lines, but I am going to have some bets on some of the props, and we're coming off another really successful week last week, man, especially continuing the trend of doing well on the regional cards, man. We won money on Aries FC, we won money on A1 Combat, we won money on Bellator, so really been doing really well. So go to patreon.com/MPredictionGuru, get yourself access to additional content, support the channel, make yourself some money, and yeah, man, besides that, hit the like button on this video. Let's try to get as much interaction as possible. I'd really appreciate that. And let's get in this first fight of the night with Corrine Laframboise. She's taking on Nicole Cagliari. And when you're looking at Corrine, she's a promising, I don't know if you'd call her a prospect. She is a little bit older. She's 35 years old, but she's a promising, good fighter. The last time that she fought was March of 2022. It looked like she took some time off to go to Thailand after she won the UA Warriors title. And then when she was set to return, she actually was going to fight on the Contender Series last year. It was confirmed that she was pregnant. I guess she didn't know about it and had to take time off for that. Now she's coming back at 35 years old, so that's definitely a factor. You know, I already don't like women that come back off pregnancy. Sometimes I feel like they don't come back the same in the first fight back, and especially when you're 35 years old, it could be a factor in your performance. But she's going to be taking on Nicole Cagliari, who's 27 years old, coming in here with 3 wins in a row, and this is going to be her first time competing in the United States since 2019, and she's also been very inactive. She wasn't afraid to test herself early in her career. She went in there, she fought Suri Kano in Japan, she came over, she fought for LFA and got a win, and then she fought Kay Hansen, and Invicta lost that fight. But since 2019, she's only fought 3 times, and all 3 of those wins were in Brazil. She didn't fight in 2020. She had 1 fight in 2021, didn't fight in 2022. And then last year, she had a couple fights in August and October. And this is going to be her first fight of 2024. So even though Laframboise is coming off some time off as well, it isn't like Cagliari has been a super active fighter. But obviously with her age and without having the pregnancy, she's probably in a lot better position. But when Corrine left the sport, she was the UAE Warriors champion, and she had some notable wins, and she had some losses to pretty high-level opposition. And style-wise, she's a bull. I mean, she likes to pressure forward, use a lot of level change feints, come over the top with overhands, and then use that to set up the double. And she has good timing on her doubles. She can be pretty explosive. She does a decent job of using the double leg to come up into the body lock if she can't finish it and getting a takedown eventually. And in this fight, the game plan to me has to be time takedowns, use that to open up some overhands, and just try to blend it together until she can find that finish on the mat. On top, Laframboise is pretty solid. She can lose position sometimes, but she's a submission threat, and she goes for the finish. She's finished all but 2 of her wins, and she's super durable. She has heart, her cardio's on point. She has a couple fights where she got finished late, but she was fighting very good opposition. And when you're looking at Nicole Cagliari, she is a great athlete. She's very fast. She closes the distance with punches and bunches, and she feints well. She'll bounce in and out, good lateral footwork, and kind of reminds you of Tisha Torres a little bit with her striking style. I think she's a little more powerful, but same kind of feint the explosions and eventually close that gap with a lot of punches. But she doesn't move her head when she blitzes in, and fighters can kind of get the beat on her, eventually counter her, and she does slow down. And she will look to kind of push fighters against the fence and slow the pace of the fight down. But her wrestling defense is not the best. She can get put on her back, and she's fighting better grapplers. She can kind of struggle off bottom. She did in her last fight get a rear naked choke, and the fight before that, she actually hit an armbar off of her back, but she got dominated and ended up getting finished by Kay Hansen. by ground and pounder submission in the third. I can't remember, but it was definitely her on bottom getting stopped. And I do think Cagliari looks slightly better in the most recent fight of hers that I could watch, but she's still kind of similar. She has the same deficiencies. She's a blitzer who still ran into some counters, gave up easy takedowns, overextending. But what she does have is a gas tank, and if fighters wrestle her, they have to be able to either find that stoppage or wrestle for 3 rounds consistently. And she is going to throw heat on the feet. She has some power. Obviously, like I said, she's fast. And then she has looked like she's maybe improved her grappling a little bit, gotten a little bit more of a submission threat. But I feel like I don't like betting on women after pregnancies, but I think that style-wise, this fight very much favors Laframboise. She's going to be able to time takedowns. I think she's going to have a significant wrestling advantage. And on the ground, I think she's going to have the edge too. On the feet, it's going to be competitive. Early on, I think Cagliari is going to be dangerous, but I think after a takedown or two, the striking is going to end up being very competitive, very close. And if Laframboise does enter this fight a little bit weaker athletically, kind of struggles to finish takedowns, then it's going to become Cagliari's fight. And that's what makes it a little bit of a harder fight to bet on. But cardio for Laframboise is normally good. She looks in great shape. And I'm going to predict a finish on the mat in round 1 or round 2 for Corrine Laframboise. I think she's going to be able to time the takedown, get on top, and eventually find that finish. Cagliari has potential, but she's going to come in there, I think, aggressive, winging punches, and get taken down and exploited on the mat. So give me Cagliari to get the victory in that one as the slight favorite currently on the money line. And up next, we got a wild fight between Otar Tanzilov and Josias Musaya, and two bantamweights, but guys that have a lot of finishes. I mean, 7 knockouts for Tanzilov out of his 9 wins, and for Josias, he's knocked out all 7 of his opponents. So it's going to be an explosive fight. Tanzilov, he's a Georgian fighter. He's 9-0, and the majority of his wins have been knockouts. Like I said, 7 knockout wins, some highlight reel knockouts with some switch kicks, some spinning kicks. But most opponents that he's fought have not been very good. Recently, he's fought a couple better guys, but he's coming off a layoff. He hasn't fought since January of last year. And his opponent, Josias, he is 7-0 with 7 knockouts, 25 years old. All his fights so far have been in Africa. It's going to be his United States debut. And he's been nothing short of dominant, though. I mean, obviously, he's went out there and gotten guys out of there. And he's also had some very, very entertaining finishes and nasty finishes as well. But this is a huge test for him. Big step up. And he's taking on a 9-0 guy from a Caucasus country. And we'll see if he's able to compete here. But Otar Tanzilov, he's ready to fight. He's a really fun fighter to watch. He's a pot shotter. He likes to try to lull fighters into the pocket and then look to land counters. Accurate, clean. He's good at hitting and moving. And he has some hard kicks on the outside, but he does slow down. And if he gets tired and it just becomes a brawl in the pocket, he's going to be very vulnerable in this one. And he wants to land and get out of the pocket and not stay there exchanging or land that kill shot and knock you out unconscious. And if you can keep the pressure on him, continue to walk him down, eat the punches, and force more of a pocket fight, he will get kind of loose and hittable as he gets more tired. He'll start to shoot bad takedowns. And he does have a very good single leg, good offensive, defensive wrestling. And I feel like that's probably going to be the game plan in this fight. He's going to go in there and try to just wrestle all day and see if he has an advantage there. And we'll see what happens. But you look at Josias Musasa, he's a huge bantamweight. He's intimidating presence. They say that Tanzilov's 5'11" and he's 5'8". I'm not sure about that. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it looked like Musasa is the bigger guy. But Musasa likes to wipe fighters down. He has crazy power, good speed, heavy kicks. But from what I've seen, I mean, he just uses pressure to get guys backed up and forces a brawl, and he has good length, speed, power, and he ends fights in that position. he has really good toughness too. I mean, I've seen him get knocked down multiple times, but get back up and end up knocking his opponent out. It seems like he's one of these fighters that becomes dangerous when he gets hurt, and he's gonna have to really level up technically. Um, but I do think he's gonna be the more composed fighter in a brawl in this fight. As weird as that sounds, because he is very wild. It's just gonna be, I think that he's gonna feel more at home in those areas where Tanzilov is gonna feel in danger. Um, and I just think he needs to pressure, push the pace, and try to get in a brawl and catch that knockout because I feel like that's his path to victory. Um, if he could stuff some takedowns, then that's going to be a big factor. But I haven't really seen him face many wrestlers. His last fight, he did defend a takedown and kind of reverse it, riding him out and ended the fight. But not someone like Tanzilov in terms of grappling level. But I kind of don't begrudge anyone who's going to take a shot on the athleticism and danger factor of Mousasi. If Mousasi could pressure force some exchanges and avoid getting countered and put out, I think that he could win. I just don't know how good he really is. He hasn't fought good fighters or anyone remotely near Tanzilov's level, and he's had some really sloppy performances, so I wouldn't be shocked if Tanzilov just knocked him out with superior technical striking or took him down and ended him quickly. But Tanzilov is a little bit on fraud check himself to me. I mean, you see him with his mouth open a lot of the fight, and he just seems like a very flashy guy, but if you put him in a dogfight, I don't know if he's going to be able to survive that. I feel like he might be a little bit of a flake. So I do think the under, if fight doesn't go to decision, will be a solid bet potentially in this fight. As a prediction, I'm going to predict Tanzilov wins by knockout, but the line is coming in a little bit. I think it's a little wide. I feel like Mousasi by knockout potentially could be a sneaky prop if it's at a very good price, but as a prediction, I'm going to go with Tanzilov here. And the next fight that we got on the card, we got the return of Yusri Belgari to the Contender Series. He's taking on Taiga Iwasaki. And this one, I mean, Belgari, he's one of the main training partners for Alex Pereira at this point. He's won 2 fights in a row since the loss on the Contender Series, and I think that the UFC definitely wants him to get the win and get signed here. The last time that he fought Marco Tulio, who's now in the UFC, and kind of had a lackluster performance. I think he said he was not feeling the greatest going into the fight. So 32 years old, he has to perform and get in here, but they're giving him a 9-1 fighter who is looking to pull a big upset. He's a Japanese guy who's really has a padded record overall. The combined record of his opponents that he's defeated is 15-30, but he has had some decent grappling showings, and obviously to beat Belgari, you're going to want to take him down. But if you look at Iwasaki and his one loss that he actually had when he fought a good opponent, he got dominated by Rafael Lovato Jr., but Rafael Lovato Jr. is an amazing fighter, one of the best jiu-jitsu fighters ever, so obviously getting submitted by him quick is not the worst thing, but this is a huge test to prove that he's at this level. And I kind of found Iwasaki to be unimpressive. On the feet, he looks weak. He kind of holds his hands low and throws a lot of naked kicks until he can time the takedown. His grappling looks okay, but just didn't see anything spectacular. He like I said, got ran through very quickly on the ground by Lovato. And this fight there is only one way for him to win to me. I mean, he needs to pressure into the fence, try to hold Belgari against the cage, and eventually hit some takedowns. And if he can get on top, I mean, maybe he could do what he's done to lesser competition and finish Belgari, but I kind of don't really see that as a high likelihood probability. But at distance, I just think he's going to really struggle due to the range difference, and he's much less technical. He has bad defense. So, and I don't think he's ever fought someone like Belgari. I mean, Belgari is probably going to be the tallest fighter that he's ever going to fight, and super technical guy, good footwork. He likes to kind of prod at fighters with jabs, leg kicks, round kicks, front kicks, and then get them to commit and then throw that big fastball right hand, big knee up the middle, and try to knock you out. And he doesn't discriminate either. He will attack the body and good head movement. He's good at kind of sliding just out of the way of strikes for a little bit. Then once he gets the range, and then you'll start throwing the counters and put you out. He has good uppercuts as well. And if you can get inside on Bulgari and kind of make it ugly in the pocket, you can land on him. But I don't see that being something that Iwasaki is going to be able to do here. But you look at Bulgari, he doesn't have the best wrestling defense. You definitely see guys like get in on him very easily. But against the cage, he does use his link to kind of stay up fairly well. And he can get up with the cage too. But haven't really seen him get taken down in space and seen how he does with that. But I kind of suspect that Bulgari gets a knockout here. I mean, he should have a gigantic stand-up advantage. The only worry is just the clinch, and I think that he could stop the clinch takedowns and likely does more damage, even if his own back is against the cage. So I think that maybe the over in this one is a potential factor because Iwasaki has never been finished before by strikes, and Bulgari is a patient guy, so if Iwasaki kind of takes a slower approach, it will go longer. But ultimately, I do think eventually Iwasaki's going to get knocked out here, and Bulgari's going to get that UFC contract probably. So give me Bulgari here to win by knockout. And the next fight here, we got a really interesting fight. Cody Steele taking on Kumail Otani. And Cody Steele and Kumail Otani are two guys that I've known about for a while now. I mean, Otani, he is really most famous recently for that victory that he had over Alex Pereira way back in the day, almost 10 years ago at this point. And Cody Steele, he is a Combat Jiu-Jitsu EBI winner. He's a really, really good high-level grappler that's been in Fury FC, putting in work in some wins, undefeated obviously at 6-0. And Otani, on top of the win over Pereira, has some other solid wins. He's on a win streak right now of 5 fights, and his last fight he did win the Jungle Fight title. But for both these guys, if Tapology has this correct, I'm kind of thinking they might be wrong, and it's going to be at 170. But they have this fight listed at 155, and neither of these guys have ever fought at 155 before. And Otani, he hasn't fought in over 2 years, so he had 3 fights with PFL that all got canceled, and now obviously he's not with PFL, so I don't know if it was like a contract dispute on top of an injury or why he's been off for almost or over 2 years, but he's coming in here off of a pretty significant layoff. And style-wise, I think it's a great matchup, though. I mean, you look at Otani, he is someone that he's definitely improved skill-wise. You could tell that his striking has leveled up a little bit, and I'm curious to see how much better it has gotten since he has had some time off. But Otani, he is going to be the better guy in terms of being light on his feet, moving in and out, trying to use that footwork, and he is going to be the taller, longer guy. And it's going to be a big factor in the fight for him to stay moving, not get backed up to the fence, and try to either circle laterally side to side or own the center of the cage and back Steele up. Because if he lets Steele back him up towards the fence, then he's going to get taken down, get clinched, and kind of get overwhelmed by the superior offense on the inside of Steele, in my opinion. But if Otani can keep it at the distance that he likes it, throw his kicks, land those front kicks up the middle, his leg kicks, land the 1-2s, land the uppercuts. Steele doesn't have the best head movement. He does kind of plot in a range, and Otani could just end up pot-shotting him and landing a lot of nice heavy strikes. And one thing about both these guys, man, is they could take crazy shots, especially Otani. This guy is insane, man. I mean, went in there with Alex Pereira, took gigantic left hooks from a guy that's fighting at 205 now, and was just there for everything, man. Ate it up, and actually it wasn't like he just out-wrestled Pereira, even though he ended up submitting him. He broke Pereira on the feet by eating all his best strikes and then took him down and took him out. So you don't want to brawl with Otani. That's definitely a thing. I mean, if you just sit there and want to just exchange in the pocket if you're Cody Steele, I think that's not going to end well. And Cody Steele is one of these guys that he does have some nasty one-shot KOs with the check hook, with the knees, and if he gets a little bit too like power happy and is sitting in the pocket exchanging, gets tired, Otani could take over. But that's Otani's game plan to me. He has to defend the takedowns, keep it standing, keep it at distance, and try to stay technical, stay long, throw a lot of long punches, get Steele kind of frustrated, force him to brawl with you, and then Otani should take over from there with the experience. But with Cody Steele, he's a guy that has nice technical boxing. He has a nice check hook. He has good counter hooks with the right hand as well. And he'll mix in some kicks, hard leg kicks. On the inside, he has nice elbows, knees. And he is going to have, in my opinion, probably the power advantage. And he's gotten some nice knockouts, like I said. But Cody Steele also has good wrestling and a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So if he could time those takedowns, he's good at timing the double and kind of dumping you or using that to circle to the back and take you down with the big slam. And on top, he has good top position, good control, good back takes. And he only has one submission win, I believe, but obviously his submission threat is very much there. And for Cody Steele, he's going to have to mix this up, man. I mean, use his striking and back Otani up, not let Otani dance around him, and get it at mix in the takedowns, and then that will open up the striking for Steele. And I think Steele could even maybe find the submission on the ground. So I think both these guys have clear paths to victory. I'm going to slightly lean with the underdog with Otani here. I think the experience will help him. I think that if he has a good game plan, he could come in there and look good and get this win. But I like the under in this fight. I think the under is going to hit. I feel like it's most likely not going to go to decision. So maybe something that I'll target when I see that number on those props there. But yeah, I'm going to go with the underdog in that one. I want to know what you guys think about that fight because I feel like that's a very cool fight, high-level fight. And I would maybe not the highest level fight, but cool matchup of styles. Two notable guys. So I want to see kind of who you think is going to win that fight. But main event time, and we got another really, really cool matchup here with Navajo Sterling taking on Philip Latu. And you look at Navajo Sterling, he's 26 years old, he's a city kickboxing product, and he's getting his chance to join the UFC with limited experience. I mean, he's only 4-0. He had his first MMA fight less than 2 years ago, and he's had some Muay Thai and kickboxing fights. He's definitely an experienced striker. He won the King of the Ring tournament. But if you look a little deeper into like his kickboxing opponents, he fought a lot of debutantes, guys that aren't very well known. And with city kickboxing, I mean, they've kind of had weird approaches. Like sometimes, for instance, with Israel Adesanya, Carlos Ulberg, they slow-rolled it, denied some UFC approaches. But Blood Diamond, got signed at 3-0, and now we're getting Sterling getting signed at 4-0 very quickly. So we'll see if this was a good decision for Sterling to jump up this quickly or not. But Sterling is the Hex light heavyweight champion. He's looked polished, and we'll see if he can come in here and beat Philip Latu. But Philip the Doctor Latu, he's 33 years old. He's also a kickboxer. He has a good camp behind him, Elevation Fight Team, 6-1. He's won 4 in a row, and his last win came over a Dana White Contender Series alumni. And he's getting a switch up here. He was supposed to fight Francisco Mazio. Now he's getting a short notice opponent that is a very different style matchup than most guys are going to fight. But style-wise, in terms of it just being another striker, should be right up Latu's alley because these guys are going to stand and bang. And Navajo Sterling, he's flashy, he's very technical, he's high volume. On the outside, he's good at attacking the legs, attacking the body. He'll throw a lot of kicks, a lot of knees. Really good leg dexterity, man. I mean, he could throw some wild kicks with both legs. On the inside, he'll put some really nice combinations together. He kind of likes the touch, and then rip with the power, and he has good speed. His offense is his defense a little bit. He doesn't have great head movement in the pocket. He will kind of move his head a little bit more, use a high guard, but for someone who's explosive Latu and closes the gap quickly, Sterling needs to keep his hands up more. I mean, he sometimes relies on his height and kind of being athletic and long, and he'll not be quite in range, but just slightly out of range with his hands down. And Latu, like I said, he's also long, 79-inch reach. And if he can close that distance quick and catch Sterling, without his hands up, he could, land something very, very heavy. But I expect Sterling to try to be pressuring in this fight. I think he needs to use a lot of feints, kicks, and then keep the combinations high and try to gas Latu. Sterling has the looser, better boxing overall and kind of just needs to avoid the big explosive strikes of Latu. Sometimes Sterling will kind of shell up too, and with the smaller gloves, that sometimes isn't the best decision, but he has sick counters, he has good distance control. His one loss, he had an opponent who just kind of walked him down through hard leg kicks and spammed overhands, and that is something that Latu can do. So Sterling's just going to kind of have to be tough here because I do think it's going to be a difficult fight. But, haven't really seen much wrestling or grappling. I mean, honestly, a lot of the fights of Sterling that I actually was able to watch were kickboxing fights. But he does have a slam knockout. I mean, maybe he'll show off some grappling here, but I think this is going to be a pure stand-up fight. Latu, he's a knockout artist, and he's a fast fighter for the weight class. He's better when he can come forward on the front foot. He has good pressure. He'll throw some heavy 3-2s. He has some nasty uppercuts, big elbows, nice round kicks to all parts of the body, good knees up the middle. And he can get flashy, kind of mix in some spin attacks. He will allow fighters to back him up, and he likes to time counters over the top. And I don't really like that game plan because he can have his back against the cage a lot. But I've seen Latu drop guys even moving backwards, and he has the power to do it, and he stays composed, stays methodical, and defensively he does hold his hands low. I don't think he has the best kick defense either, but he could take a shot well, and I almost feel like he baits guys to exchange with them. He rolls with punches pretty well, and he has decent head movement, so he takes a lot of sting off the shots, but I definitely feel as if Latu's becoming a little bit more comfortable with fighting MMA, letting his striking shine, and I think this is going to be a fun fight to watch. Navajo Sterling is the more technical striker. He's going to be throwing more volume. He has to feint, keep Latu defensive, and then let go with the combos, use his speed. He has decent power, but he isn't as powerful as Latu, and I think if Sterling wins, it's going to be a later on finish, like round 2-3, or a decision. For Phil Latu, he needs to pressure forward. He needs to throw his leg kicks, his overhands. He needs to try to explode in with that big left hook that he likes. And his ability to close the distance so quickly makes him dangerous versus anybody. Sterling needs to be very aware, like I said. And I'm going to predict Sterling gets this win, but honestly, it's a volatile fight. I'm not too interested in betting on it. The only thing I can maybe bet is the over, depending on the odds. And I think that has potential to cash there. So that's kind of what I would tell you guys. And as far as like a parlay of the week, I don't really have a parlay with these money line mans. I feel like there's some. The only person that I'm really super confident in is Belgari from a money line perspective. But like I said, a lot of these fights, I like the under. I'd like the La Framboy versus Cagliari under. I think the Musayev Musasa Tanzlov fight's probably not going to decision. Belgari by knockout. I think Cody Steele by sub. Otani inside the distance. Those are both plays you can kind of head yourself with and make some money either way, more than likely. And Sterling, round 3 decision, or maybe Latu round 1. And yeah, man, I maybe think La Frambo by submission. So there's some nice little props that I'm going to be looking at when that market opens up and see what I can get. But thanks for watching this video, guys. Going to be back soon with the UFC breakdown prediction video. This week you got some other events going on this week with Bellator, LFA. I think a couple other shows are going down, so come to Patreon and check those out, what I have to say about those events. And besides that, man, thanks for watching this video, and just stay locked into the channel.